It's funny how often I catch myself daydreaming about this. Like, what would I do with an extra, I don't know, a few decades? Centuries, even. Could you imagine living for millennia? That's what we're diving into today, this whole concept of reversal genetics. This idea that we could actually, reverse aging, at a cellular level.
Yeah.
And it's not just science fiction, right? We're talking real science here with huge implications, possibly changing humanity as we know it.
Absolutely.
To help us break it all down, we've got this incredible excerpt from someone who went from accepting their own mortality to actually seeking out this radical life extension.
It's so interesting, the excerpt actually tackles this experience, this human experience of confronting our mortality.
Right.
It starts with this really personal story, family history of just tragically short lifespans, generation after generation not living past 60.
Wow.
And it sparked this deep desire to break free from that pattern.
That's super powerful, and it really got me thinking about how different cultures throughout history have dealt with these big questions surrounding life and death. I mean, you think about the ancient Egyptians, right? Their elaborate tombs and mummification. It's almost like they were trying to cheat death.
Like they could just preserve themselves forever.
Exactly. And then you have something like the Japanese concept of mono no aware, which finds beauty in the temporary nature of things.
The impermanence, yeah.
Yes.
It is fascinating, isn't it, how these different lenses shape our understanding of death.
Totally.
The Egyptians focused on preserving the physical body for eternity, while the Japanese, they embraced this ephemeral nature of existence.
Right.
Just two examples of how we grapple with mortality.
And it's not just something from the past, right? Even with all the advancements in modern medicine, the question of what makes a good life knowing we'll eventually die, it's still relevant. I mean, we've made incredible progress, right? Vaccines, organ transplants, extending lifespans, but...
Absolutely.
But then on the other side, you have the rise of palliative care, focusing on quality of life when facing a terminal illness.
Yeah, that focus on comfort and dignity.
Exactly, but it all comes back to that question, how do we define a good life, knowing it will eventually end?
And that's a question we're all wrestling with, and especially relevant as we dive into radical life extension.
Right.
Because if we could potentially live for centuries, I mean, wouldn't our whole understanding of a good life have to evolve?
It's almost like we're hitting the pause button on time itself.
Right.
And the person in our excerpt, they grapple with this idea. They talk about the things that matter most to them, their work, their home, their family.
Those fundamental things.
Right, like intrinsic values rather than all the material stuff, possessions.
Yeah.
It really got me thinking about my own priorities. What would I focus on if time was no longer a limiting factor?
It's a thought-provoking question for sure, and one the excerpt really pushes us to consider.
Yeah.
Think about it. Many indigenous cultures, they find well-being in their connection to community and to nature.
Right.
There's a wisdom there that goes beyond material things.
Yeah.
It speaks to something deeper, enriching a life, regardless of its length.
And it really challenges that classic notion of, living the dream, which so often comes down to wealth and status, right?
Absolutely.
It reminds me of philosophical traditions like Stoicism, for example.
Yeah.
Stoicism emphasizes accepting what you can't control, focusing on virtue.
Inner peace.
Inner peace. Imagine how Stoicism would change if aging itself was controllable.
Right. It challenges the very core of the philosophy.
Exactly. And what about Buddhism? Their emphasis on detachment from material things, finding enlightenment through mindfulness.
Right.
How would that concept evolve?
It's mind-blowing to consider.
It really is.
It makes you wonder how these age-old philosophies would adapt.
Totally.
And what new insights might emerge.
So for you listening, what does a fulfilling life look like for you? Would your priorities change if time were no longer a constraint? It's something to think about, especially as we delve into this incredible science.
Which brings us to the heart of it. Reversal genetics.
Okay, yes.
This idea that we could manipulate our genes to reverse aging.
Yeah.
It might sound like science fiction, but we're already seeing incredible developments in fields like CRISPR gene editing and stem cell research.
I have to admit, when I first heard about this, I was like, wait, are we talking about the fountain of youth here? But then I learned about CRISPR and my mind was blown.
It's incredible.
Explain this to me and to everyone listening. I'm 5 years old.
Okay.
what is CRISPR and how could it possibly reverse aging?
Imagine a molecular scalpel, something that can precisely target and edit our genes.
Okay.
That's CRISPR in a nutshell.
Okay.
Scientists believe that certain genes are linked to the aging process. And with CRISPR, we could potentially target those genes and rewrite them.
Wow.
Imagine correcting the code that leads to deterioration, hitting the reset button on aging at a fundamental level.
Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But even if CRISPR can target those genes, how do we even know which ones are the right ones? Our biology is so complex.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The excerpt we're looking at, it brings up AI.
Oh, interesting.
Could AI, with its ability to analyze huge data sets, be the key to unlocking the secrets of aging?
So AI could be like the roadmap to reversing aging.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow.
It could guide scientists to the exact spots to edit with CRISPR.
That's it's like something out of a movie, but it's happening right now.
It is pretty remarkable.
It feels like we're on the verge of a scientific revolution, but one that comes with some really big questions.
You hit the nail on the head.
Right.
What would a world where aging is reversible even look like? How would it impact our society, our values?
It's both exhilarating and a little bit terrifying to think about.
Exactly.
But before we jump into those societal implications, the excerpt we're looking at, it doesn't just throw out these big ideas.
Right.
It's rooted in the human experience of coming to terms with our own mortality.
That's what makes this discussion so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a hypothetical. It's grounded in real emotions. The anxieties we all experience when we confront the limits of our own existence.
Right.
So let's explore that a little further. What are some of the ways you, the listener, have grappled with these big questions about life and death?
It really does feel like we're standing on the edge of something completely new, and this whole reversal genetics thing, it's like the force that could push us over.
It is. It's like hitting fast forward on societal evolution, like way faster than anything we've ever seen.
Right.
And the source material, it brings up some really thought-provoking examples. One that really stood out to me was this idea of retirement becoming obsolete. Like, what if people just work and learn and evolve for centuries?
Wow.
What would that even mean for careers?
Yeah.
You know? Or lifelong learning, the whole structure of the workforce.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Multiple generations all working together, each bringing their own experiences and perspectives.
Yeah, it could be this incredible accumulation of knowledge and expertise.
But then how do you manage a workforce that spans centuries? What happens to those traditional career paths when people have like hundreds of years to explore different fields?
And the economic implications are huge too.
Right.
Our current economic models, like everything from Social Security to pensions, they're all based on a limited lifespan.
Yeah.
How do we adapt those systems to accommodate people living, significantly longer?
Yeah.
It challenges everything we know about resource allocation, wealth distribution, even the concept of economic growth.
It's like we're building a whole new economic framework from scratch.
Right.
And then there's family structures.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine having multiple generations, potentially spanning centuries, all living together.
Yeah.
The traditional family unit could be like completely transformed.
Think about the dynamics of parent-child relationships, right? Would things shift if children outlive their parents by centuries? So what happens to elder wisdom when elders have like centuries of experience?
It makes you wonder if we'd even recognize the concept of family as we understand it today.
And that's just scratching the surface.
Right.
Think about our cultural values, perceptions of aging, beauty, youth, the entire life cycle. All of that would probably undergo a radical transformation.
Our society places such a high value on youth. Would that change if people could maintain that youthful vitality for much longer?
Would we develop new beauty standards, new rites of passage, new ways of marking the different stages of an extended lifespan?
It's fascinating and a little bit daunting to think about.
It is.
It's like we're rewriting the entire narrative of the human experience.
And with any great story, there are bound to be challenges, conflicts, unexpected twists and turns along the way.
Right. It's not always a smooth journey.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole exploration so captivating. We're not just talking about scientific advancements. We're talking about the human story, how we grapple with the potential of radical life extension.
So where do we even begin to address these massive shifts? It's like we're opening Pandora's box, and once it's open, there's no going back.
Yeah, I think the first step is acknowledging the scope of it, the complexity of it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about the ethics, the societal implications, the philosophical questions, all of it.
Yeah.
And this can't just be a conversation happening in labs and academic journals.
Right.
It needs to be brought to the dinner table, the classroom, the public square.
Everyone needs to be a part of this discussion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like we need this global dialogue, a collective effort to wrap our heads around these potential transformations.
Because, as you said, this isn't just about science. It's about the future of humanity.
And it's a future we're actively shaping with the choices we make today.
The decisions we make about research and development, regulation, those will have profound consequences.
Yeah, for generations to come.
Exactly.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity.
It is.
We're at this pivotal moment, and the choices we make now, they could determine the course of our evolution as a species.
And perhaps the most important question we need to be asking is not, can we reverse aging, but should we?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer.
Right.
It's a question that requires deep thought, careful consideration.
A willingness to grapple with the unknown.
Absolutely.
And it's a question we need to answer together.
Because this potential of reversal genetics, it's not just about individual longevity. It's about the future of humanity as a whole.
It's about redefining what it means to be human.
To live, to age, to create a world where the possibilities are limitless.
It's wild to think we might actually hold the keys to a future where aging, might not even be a thing. But as we've talked about, this future comes with some really complex questions, really big challenges.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to navigate this uncharted territory? How do we even start to wrap our heads around something as huge as reversing aging?
I think it starts with education.
Okay.
Making sure people really understand the science behind it, the potential benefits, but also the risks that come with technology like this.
Right, because it's not enough to just have these conversations within the scientific community.
No, absolutely not.
We need to bring this to the public, right? Everyone needs to be talking about this. We need to demystify this whole concept.
Exactly. Break it down so everyone can understand it.
Yeah, from dinner table conversations to classrooms to the government, this needs to be a conversation that involves all of us.
It does.
Because let's be real, this isn't just some abstract scientific idea. This is about the future of humanity.
It is.
And we need to approach it with the seriousness, the foresight that it deserves.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about potentially reshaping what it means to be human, shouldn't everyone have a say in that?
They should, and it goes beyond just providing information, too. We need to encourage people to think critically about all this.
Yeah.
Question those assumptions, consider different perspectives, really engage in a thoughtful debate about the ethical and societal dilemmas that this technology presents.
Because this isn't just about, individuals. We need to think about the impact on everyone.
Yeah, our collective well-being, social justice, the planet.
Reversing aging could have a huge effect on everything.
Absolutely. Resource allocation, economic systems, even our relationship with the environment.
Right. We can't just focus on extending lifespans.
Exactly.
We need to consider the impact on the planet as a whole.
We do. It's like we're playing this high-stakes game of chess, but the board is the entire planet, and the pieces represent all of humanity.
Wow. That's a powerful image.
Every move we make has the potential to affect generations to come.
And those effects could be, good or bad.
Right, exactly.
It all depends on the choices we make, the values we focus on.
And the systems we put in place to guide this technology.
So what can we, as individuals, what can we do to make sure this technology is used responsibly? It feels like such a massive thing. And it's easy to feel, kind of powerless when faced with a change this big.
It is, but there are things we can do.
Okay.
I think one of the most important things is to stay informed, keep learning, read about the latest developments, engage in those discussions about the ethical and societal implications.
Right.
And be willing to challenge your own assumptions.
Because knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
The more we understand about all this, the the better we'll be able to make good decisions.
Exactly.
And advocate for responsible development.
Mm-hmm.
And don't underestimate the power of your own voice, right?
No, not at all.
Talk to your friends and family about this, your colleagues.
Yeah.
Write to your elected officials, participate in public forums,
Make sure this issue is on everyone's radar.
It's not just a scientific issue.
No.
It's a political issue, a social issue, a human issue.
And it's going to take all of us working together to figure this out.
We need that collective effort grounded in a shared understanding of our values, our priorities.
It's the kind of future we want to build.
Right. Do we want a future where everyone benefits from this technology or one where it just makes existing inequalities even worse?
Do we want longer lifespans to contribute to a more sustainable world, or one where it puts even more strain on the planet?
These are huge questions.
They are.
And they're questions we need to be asking now while this technology is still in its early stages.
Exactly. And the answers, they're not going to be easy.
Right.
It's going to take real deliberation, open dialogue, a willingness to grapple with those tough ethical and societal trade-offs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of reversal genetics, I'm left with this feeling of awe, but also a bit of apprehension. We're on the verge of something truly transformative, but the path forward, it's not clear yet.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're venturing into the unknown, a place where the possibilities are limitless.
But ultimately, we're the ones who will shape this future.
We are.
It's up to us to determine whether this technology leads to a world that benefits everyone.
That's right.
And that's where you, the listener, come in. We've just scratched the surface of this complex and fascinating topic, but hopefully this deep dive has made you curious, inspired you to learn more.
As you keep exploring, keep in mind that the future isn't set in stone.
Yeah.
It's being shaped right now by the choices we're making, the conversations we're having.
Be informed, be engaged, be a part of this conversation that will ultimately determine the course of human evolution.
Exactly.
And with that, we'll leave you with one final question to think about. If reversal genetics were to become a reality, what would be the most pressing issue for us to address first?
It's a question worth pondering as we step into this brave new world where the boundaries of human potential may be redefined in ways we can only just begin to imagine.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
This is DigitView.